Hello and welcome everyone to Tips and Tricks Part 2. Today we're talking about adhesive and adhesive remover. Yeah, there's such a thing that you can remove your adhesive very carefully. But this will be in a later point in this video. So today I thought we have a look at the different adhesives that are on the market or especially in our catalogs. And to begin with, this is the core catalog from Close to My Heart. And you will find the adhesives on pages 78 and 79. And my apologies if I sound a little bit nasally. I also have a little bonbon in my mouth to keep me from coughing. I have a little sinus congestion going on. So let's start from the top and talk about glue dots. What are glue dots? Glue dots are nothing else than little adhesive dots pressed on a waxy paper, and I hope you can see them a little bit here. And they are super sticky, and I use them a lot for example, embellishments. Sequins is a great way to use these adhesives because they don't come with any adhesive, and if you want to put just some few extra ones on a page, see, I put mine directly on the dot. Let me close this before they go flying everywhere. And you can do a whole bunch, so there's a big distance between them on this sheet of paper, and you want to press them hard on there, and then when you pull them off, just make sure you're taking the adhesive with you. Sometimes, depending on how old your dots are or how much you pushed the embellishment onto the glue dot, it might not come off all the way, but usually there it goes. So there's the sticky part is on the back now, and then wherever we want to put it, it's gonna stick, no problem. That's one way. We have these cute little wooden elements in the catalog. That's another way of putting these glue dots in the back to make sure they stick. And they come in different sizes. Now I have dots. I just have them still left over from a charge I ordered a while ago for classes. Our company here is Glue Dots, but there's not much difference. The difference is there are different sizes. So they're small, they're medium, they're large ones you find in the store, or ours are here ultra thin, which means they're really, really thin, but they're pretty big. Then you have the mini dots and the micro dots. The micro dots are really tiny, and the mini dots are the size that I just showed you, the small ones here. And if you ask me which size should I get, I always tell my students, get the small size, because likelihood is you have more small pieces to put on your cards and pages than big ones. And if you really need a big one, you just double them up. So, you know, instead of using one big one, and I show you the size difference. I hope you can see how big they are. Let me see if I can mark them so you actually can see them. So there's the glue dot in this circle. Not much help, but so it's a pretty big one compared to these tiny little ones here, the size of a sequence. So I suggest always get the small ones, and if you really have something larger you want to add on, just double them up. Plus, they are so sticky and so strong, you really don't need a lot, so you don't really need to use a lot. That's my recommendation for the glue dots. Go with the smaller size and just double them if you need to. You can cut them if you need something really tiny, but you have to be careful so they don't stick to your scissors. What I like to do sometimes, if we have something that just needs a little tiny piece, I just fold them on the paper in half. And I hope I'm catching this on the, or just roll the paper a little bit like this. And then you have this little squishy roll of adhesive that you can use for the smaller pieces you might want to adhere. But I really love to use them for sequins too because they're just the right size. Okay, so the next adhesive that's on here are adhesive runners. And you will ask, why do we have like 3 different ones? Well, this one is a refill. And this one is the adhesive, the cartridge that holds these refills. So this is a permanent adhesive. When the cartridge is empty, that's inside. And I have an older model here, I apologize, but I've been using these for a decade now, so I still have quite a few of them. But the system is the same. So while this is the cartridge and the case, if they're done and you need to replace them, all you do is you pull the base off. This is your cartridge. Once this is done, it's all rolled up here and this blue part is gone. You can toss this. You keep this one. You just open a new package of your refills, which pretty much looks like this. You remove this yellow paper that's in between here to make sure that it rolls freely. And then all you have to do is snap them back together. And it only goes one way. And you're back in business again. And you can reuse it. This tape runner is the same company. It's the same tape. The only difference is this cannot be refilled. So once that tape runner runs out, you just toss it. That's the only difference between the two. I would always go with the refills because at the end the refills are cheaper for you and it's easier and you don't have so much waste on top. Another little tip, in class we always had the issue that sometimes they would take the runners the wrong way. And the problem is when you use it the wrong way and you roll it off, you roll against the tape roll and you're just screwing the whole cartridge up. At one point it doesn't work anymore and you have to toss it. So what I like to do is in class, I put a little sticker that tells them this is the top, because the little flap that protects your tape down here goes down. And I don't know why, but we always have the tendency to open it on top here. So this way you already have it in the wrong direction. But with the sticker, you always know which way to go. Just a hint if you struggle with this as well. So how do you use this tape runner? Well, all you have to do is you, like I showed you, pull this tab down and then you press lightly and roll it down nice and evenly. If you kink it a little bit, you're only gonna roll off. See this fine line here? I hope you can see this. This is when you don't put even pressure on your runner when you're going down to adhere. But and these little ribbles here, that happens when the tape comes off that film here. That's normal. But yeah, so always try to put even pressure on your tape so you're not leaving half of it on here. If for whatever reason you touch here and it's not sticky and you can't get the thing to roll, which can happen, just slightly use your finger, push it forward until you feel the sticky part and you're good to go. One other tip, if you get those in the store, and I know they sell them in the store, you sometimes also find beside those blue ones, these green ones. Now what's the difference between those? Cartridges fit in both, so make sure you don't mix them up, but the green ones are the ones that are actually removable adhesive, which means if I put this adhesive on paper and let's say I put another piece on top, I can take this off without any struggle and any problem. If I want to do this with adhesive that is permanent, like the blue one, you can do this at the beginning, but once it's settled for a couple of minutes or a day, it usually doesn't come up easy without ripping your paper. So you have to be careful. But this one here, it's super easy. So if you're doing projects where you know, you just want to test and put something down, not sure if you're going to leave it there, this is a good way to go. But other than that, stay away from them, because if you mix them up by any chance and you put your pages or cards together, you might end up with parts falling off because that adhesive does not stay. So this is the permanent refillable, and the green ones are the removable ones. Big difference. Okay, next up we have 3D foam dots. And the dots, let me put this away here. And the 3D foam dots, they come in a regular height and in a thinner height. I don't have samples here, they're on the way, they're stuck somewhere in the snow right now. But I can show you, they're the same height like our tape is. And we have the 3D tape, which is pretty much the same thing like our dots, just in a strip form on a roll. And this is the thin tape that I have here. See, it comes in 2 thicknesses or widths. And this is the thin tape. And then we also have a thick one, which I also don't have here. It's in the same package naturally, but I can show you here. So this is the thin paper. And I will show you a little square that is the thicker one, which we use for our shaker cards, for example. So you can already see how much thicker this one is compared to this one. I love the thin tape, and it's pretty much all we use for our cards when we make those, or for scrapbook pages. For the scrapbook pages, simply because it doesn't put too much bulk to your page, and it still gives it a little lift on the page. And for the cards, it's the same thing. The cards are just not as bulky. Even if you have 2 or 3 things you stack on top, it's not gonna be a really thick layer at the end, which makes it easier to send in the mail too. We actually, I use these tiny little squares, which is the same thinness as our thin tape, as you can see. They're both about the same. And it really makes a difference. You don't need a lot, but sometimes you want to lift something or put something up so it just shows better, and this is just the way to go. So in my opinion, get the thin one, and if you really need a higher, thicker one, use the thick tape, or just double the thin one up. And if you love to make shaker cards, we have the acetate bases and the sticky parts all together in one package, so you already get the thicker one, because for the shaker cards you want a little bit thicker foam tape, otherwise your sequins or your shakers inside won't shake. So you don't want to use too thin of a tape, so this one is ideal. Okay, next are the liquid adhesives, and we pretty much have 3 different ones. We have the Tombow Aqua, that's the blue one here, which is clear. We have the dual tip multi-bond, which is white when it comes out, but it dries clear. And we have our liquid glass. So those are the 3 liquid adhesives. Which one is the best? Well, it depends on what you want to do. This one here is good. It gives you a great bond. Due to being a liquid, the nice thing is you still have a little wiggle room. If you put things together, you can always move them a little bit. And then at one point it will set. But you still have a little bit time. It has 2 tips, like the other one does too. This is a chisel end. So when you squeeze, adhesive will come out here. And you can spread this in wider form on your paper. And then it's got a fine tip right here. And this one I don't use a lot, because I noticed that when you use this on plain paper, let's say like you want to add 3 different layers of paper together, it does wave your paper, which sometimes liquid adhesive has the tendency to do, especially the thinner the paper, the more waves you get. So I don't use this a lot, but I do use a lot this one here. And same thing, a thin tip where you can see the white coming out. And then we have a silicone one on the other end, which when you squeeze here, there's the white, and then you can just spread it on your paper, which is really nice too. Right here. So you can just spread it out. This adhesive hardly ever waves your paper. You have to be careful if the paper is really thin, but other than that, it's really great. It dries clear, even so it comes out white. And the other thing is, if you do 3D elements, boxes, or you have heavier things you want to attach to each other, this is a great glue, because all you have to do really, you fold your box together, you hold it for a couple of seconds. If it's not in the right position, you have time to move it around a little bit. You hold it tight, and then in a couple of seconds, it bonds, and it's a strong bond. So, and you can use this for, you know, if you adhere paper on your pages, for pretty much everything. And it's really easy to handle. You have to get the feeling for not pushing too hard to squeeze out the adhesive, because you don't need a lot of this adhesive. You only need a little bit. Then we have the liquid glass. And liquid glass, as the name says, it actually dries clear as glass. And this one has a very fine tip as well, which I recommend when you use it the first time, put a little needle in there to make sure that this doesn't clog up. You can use this for fixing things. You can use this to adhere items to your pages or cards. This needs a little bit drying time, but it is clear, which is a nice thing. And it also is great for making your own stickers. Let's say you have a little, let's say you have a little sticker you want to make. Actually, I don't have one here. And you want to make this look like it's really glass or has a coating on it. All you can do is take the liquid adhesive, go on the outside, and then fill in the middle part, and it's self-leveling, and let it dry. And you have to let it dry overnight to make sure it is nice and dried out, because otherwise, you know, it's still going to be sticky. It is really nice to use for these type of things, to give it just a little shine, something extra. It's like stickles, but not with the glitter inside, so it's just really nice and shiny. And these are pretty much the adhesive we have in the catalog. These are pretty much the adhesives I use most of the time. Like I said, this is just an older casing, but it's the same company. And the other liquids, there are a couple more on the market, but like I said, whatever you feel comfortable with is a good one to use. I would for sure go with a dry and a liquid one, because they have two different purposes. Especially for paper, this is always a good one. Use the smaller glue dots and the thinner foam tape. And I think you're covered basically with all of these. And again, you will find those page 78 and 79 in the catalog. And as I promised, last but not least, the adhesive eraser. And yes, there is such a thing, and I know this is always overlooked in the book, and it's right here. It says rub and remove eraser, and it really works well if you know how to use it. So I show you mine. Mine is not as nice and clean anymore. See, it has these little sticky things everywhere, but this is a tool you don't want to go without. So remember, we put all this adhesive here, and it's pretty sticky, and I think you can see this, and I'm gonna try and remove this big part here. So what you want to do, you want to make sure that you stretch your paper really good so it's not rolling underneath the eraser. And then you take a corner, and what I do is in little circles I start rolling, and I think you can see already the edge building here. And you do it in little steps. You don't do it like a normal eraser over the whole thing right away. You want to do it in little steps. And I do little circles, and then you have at one point these big gobs of glue, which you just toss, and you just keep going. And it is amazing, but we have gotten so much adhesive of things where we used it on the wrong side, or it was sticking out because you went over the edge that you're supposed to, and it was sticking to everything else. So this is an eraser you don't want to miss. Can you use this with liquid adhesive? Yes. The only thing to remember there is when you use it on liquid adhesive, make sure the liquid adhesive is dry before you use the eraser on it, otherwise it doesn't work. So this one is still a little bit sticky here, but see, we got that middle strip all taken care of. Let's see if we can remove this one on this side too. And it is fascinating, but this thing is worth every penny. And it doesn't work when you have, let's say, adhesive on acetate. Do not even try it. It's not gonna come off. If you have it on foil paper, it's not gonna come off without you ruining the paper. You want to be very careful. If you get this on photographs, it's not gonna work. You're gonna remove the coating, and it's just a big mess. So here we go. Clean this one up. So it is really an awesome tool to have, and like I said, you just want to make sure you stretch your paper. You do it in little increments, and you do it in little circles. And when you build up a bigger goo bulb, like here, you just pick it off. And if your corners get too gooed up, which they can, I sometimes just use my scissors and cut it off. Okay, this is the last one on this side. And I'm working here on just plain copy paper. So not really thick paper, but can you see there's nothing sticky anymore? Everything is gone. Naturally, to remove the one we did here, that's really easy to take off because it's not a big adhesive strip. So this is the removable one. That comes off way easier. See, this is all gone. There's nothing there anymore. And then, let's see, try even with the liquid adhesive. See how it curls up? This side here is pretty dry. So if you ever have liquid adhesive that's squirted out underneath your photo mat or on pages you put together, just let it sit, let it dry completely, then use your eraser carefully and you can remove it. So I took care of this. The middle part is still wet, so I can't go over this. Here's a little bit on the side, but it is worth every penny. So if you don't have this, make sure to get one because you will not regret it. It's right here, page 79, Rub and Remove Eraser. I know it doesn't look like much, but it's really worth the penny. And last but not least, sometimes your scissors get gooed up. If you want to clean your scissors, I use this often too to remove adhesive from mine. Makes an excellent job, and your scissors stop sticking. So I hope that explains a little bit the different types of adhesives. Again, these are my go-to ones. Small glue dots, the white mono glue, the tape runner, the eraser, and the thin foam cuts. I hope it was something new for you too in this video, and stay tuned for the next one. I hope I did my overall nasal and throat is gonna be better. And I see you next week. Bye bye.